almost perfect. Hello everybody, we are in the Grays River Range of Wyoming, and this is the second camping trip I've taken with my Go Fast camper. Well, Go Slow camper, I should say. It's actually has a lot of design features that you won't find in the Go Fast, and I've eliminated some design features that are in the Go Fast camper, so we'll call it the Go Slow camper just for the fun of it. Yeah, let's set it up. I need to set up camp. Just got here. We took it on its first trip to the San Juans last weekend, or I should say last week, and now this is its second. I use this rope just temporarily to makes it easier to stow the top. When I'm traveling, I usually take it off, but I just moved from another campsite about an hour away, so that's why it's attached there. So yeah, I just undo the two latches there and up it goes. All right, first thing you'll notice is I went with the 1.5 by 3 extrusion here. I really haven't regretted that. It's about, I don't know, $400 or $500 cheaper, and you can get it a lot quicker than the 4.5 inch. I got these both from T-Nuts. The other thing you'll notice is I'm missing a window cutout here. Unfortunately, I didn't get that done in time for our trip, and it does make it quite warm up there in the afternoon. So I will be maybe this fall or winter taking the tent out and putting those in. I've got these climbing holds here. I used those for a hammock. The last couple of days are nice. Oh, and also the solar shower I can hang there. These are weld nuts that I put in to the frame for that purpose, and also I'm probably gonna make some saddles that like a Rotopack can go on, and maybe we'll use the Rotopack for the solar shower, a black plastic one. Notice these are not mirrored, so one is up and one is down. I didn't notice that when I ordered them from Amazon, but it hasn't really bugged me that much. Okay, and I've got my whole load of camping stuff there. I'm gonna go ahead and pause for a minute and unload things, and then we'll show you around the inside. Okay, fast forward a few minutes, I got everything set up. All of this and more on the other side of the truck fit in the back there, and there's plenty of room for more stuff too. Got our Camp Chef Explorer here with the grill box, 5-gallon propane tank, this fire bowl. You know, I didn't think I'd be a fan of that, but it's nice in that, I mean, you don't have to go gather firewood, and you can use it when there's fire restrictions. It's kind of my wife's idea, but it's growing on me. So one thing you'll also notice, back to the camper, I decided not to do the fold out sides, and I really haven't regretted that. Most of the things I get, I can just reach through here. I've got pretty long arms. Most of the things I would use the openings for on the sides are heavy enough, I'd probably take them out the back anyway. All right, so let's talk about how I've attached the camper to the truck. I've just used the existing cargo mounts in the bed with some turnbuckles up to a climbing hold there, and I just have a grade 5 bolt going through the frame. I've got some grade 8s I'm going to replace this with, and some fender washers. You can see they're starting to dimple the aluminum composite a little bit. I Don't like putting bolts in shear. I'd rather they be in tension, but I don't have a choice right now. Couldn't think of anything better to do. Got this net here for dirty clothes or whatever. One thing I've done different is this bed. You have to jiggle it a little bit. Slides back. Jeez, hang on. There we go. Slides back 2 feet, and then you just flip all your bedding. And then you got this awesome place to stand up back here and change. I mean, you can change with it when it's in this position too, but you've just got more room. Or if it's raining or something, you can set some camp chairs up in here. I haven't done it yet, but that's the idea, and you'll have your headroom. So instead of making a platform that like uses the gas shocks to raise up like some people have, this just slides. And it's working quite well for that. I just have a 2-inch memory foam on here. It works okay, but I like it better with this inflatable mattress. And all of this does fit with the top down, even though I only have the 3-inch extrusions. The pillows don't. I put the pillows in that duffel bag that's underneath, and also the blanket. But the sleeping bag and the sleeping bags, I should say, because usually my wife's sleeping bag's up in here too. And the air mattresses fit just fine, and the roof compresses just fine with those. Man, I got a lot of mosquitoes in here. Speaking of pillows, we had a problem the first trip that they would fall down in this gap here. So I have installed this cargo net so that when you're sleeping, I've got a bungee cord that's coming along for the ride here. So that when you're sleeping, you just connect this cargo net. Sorry, I didn't bring my GoPro, I forgot. You bring this cargo net and hook it in to the corners here, and then the pillows don't fall down. And small dogs don't fall down either. Don't ask me how I know that. You can put a cooler here to stand on to jump up into the bed platform, or the Gladiator has these nifty little places for your feet. And it's just easy to boost yourself up in there and into bed. So it's kind of nice. And yeah, bed rug. This is a must. It's so nice to have back here. I've got a lot of RVs, probably close to 20 of them. What do you want? And, you know, all the way from like Palomino pop-up tent camp, truck campers, pop-up trailers, tent trailers, which I absolutely detest. We have an A-frame trailer currently that's in the shop for repairs. We're going to get rid of it. All the way up to 30-foot toy haulers that I had to pull with my diesel pickups that I've had. And, you know, you'd think this would be kind of a downgrade, but I really like it. It's fun. I just don't think I would have pulled my 30-foot toy hauler all the way up here on 30 miles of dirt roads, dirt washboardy roads. It's just nice to go places, take things places that you normally wouldn't take, and it doesn't cut down my fuel mileage at all. I think, you know, I'm still getting like 22 on the highway, regardless of whether this is on there or not. We even took it over Pass last week, and it survived that. Not sure what else to say. We got our shower and potty here. That's one of those Better Boater lids for a 5-gallon bucket. The black bags. Wolfwise shower stall. Sets up in seconds. It just pops open. And this is where we hang the solar shower and put the nozzle through that window. Yeah, I'm really happy with things so far. Got some improvements to go. Got some wiring to do, some electrical. So we have some rope lighting in there. I do have a little problem going on here where I think this is too tight and rubbing on the inside of this aluminum panel. And it's creased a little bit. I gusseted these, structurally strengthen them a little bit. Got my handle here. Oh, I need to show you something really cool before I forget, and then I think we're done. So to go to bed, you get inside and then you just grab your cable. Chewy, do you want to come? Hang on a minute, bud. Just grab your cable and then close it, and then you've got your handle here, and then these just pivot like that. And I do have this gap here. I'm going to make a 3D printed piece to go in there. You can see it's letting a little bit of dust in the corners. I do also need to do a rain skirt. You can see we did have it one rainy night in the San Juans, and we got some rain down through here, but no biggie. Nice thing about the Gladiator tailgate, as well as most trucks, I guess nowadays, is it has that soft open, so you can just let it fall softly. I think that's it. So let's talk about the design. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, learned a lot about building your own camper. I decided at one point I was going to do a foam and fiberglass camper. I had a really cool design. I went to order the materials and just realized I didn't have very good experience the last time I worked with foam and fiberglass. Wetting the fiberglass is really tricky. It can't be too much epoxy, or it can't be too little epoxy, or the whole thing just falls apart. So having a structural foam fiberglass camper was just too intimidating for me. So I backed up, decided to look again at materials I have good luck with, and joining methods, and welding steel tubing. That's something I can do. Riveting, aluminum, bolting things together. Those are all things that I've been doing for almost 40 years. So I have no problem with that. Although I do not know how to sew, or I did not know how to sew at all. I still don't know how to sew, but that was the most intimidating thing about building a wedge camper, and I decided I could probably live with that. So I went with a wedge camper design, and at that point I said, well, what kind of wedge camper is going to work for me? And I wanted, first and foremost, just a warm, dry place to sleep and eat, and to be able to stand up to change my clothes in. So that necessitated a wedge camper with the sliding bed design so that I could stand up in the back, and also put up some, camp chairs in the back and sit in there and eat if I needed to, if the weather was too bad to eat outside, or you're trying to get away from bugs or whatever. So that's how I ended up with the design. I encourage you to do the same thing. Don't build somebody else's camper. Build your camper. Write down your list of requirements, and don't settle for somebody else's requirements. And that included, in my case, as I mentioned before, not having the hinged panels on the side. I don't like lifting things in and out of the side of my truck, because that's how you get your bed all scratched up. I'd rather go through the tailgate to do that. So I figured that was just a lot of extra work I could save myself and only have a hinged panel in the rear. So that's what we did. And I designed this up in CAD. I have the advantage of that's my day job, so I could do this in my spare time. and got it all designed up. And I say got it all designed up. I didn't design it right down to the nuts, bolts, and washers. I figured all that stuff would be just as easy to build than to design, if you know what I mean. So this is just the basics. I used a couple of optimizer tools for the tubing lengths and also the panel sizes. There's one called OptiCutter and another one, I forget the name of it. I'll put it here in text. But I had very little scrap at the end of this project. In fact, my entire panels came from 2 pieces of 5x10 aluclad or Omni Bond or whatever it's called. It had just a few little scraps left over. In fact, here's my tubing I brought home on my utility trailer. I cut those into roughly 12-inch or 12-foot lengths to get them home, and then cut them the rest of the way with my abrasive cutoff side. Deburred everything on my grinder, and ended up with a pile of the right length of tubing here. And I kid you not, this is the scrap I had left over. I could hold it in one hand. I went ahead and pre-drilled my holes at this point. It's a lot easier to pre-drill them here in a drill press than to do it once it's welded up. So these are the holes that attach the aluminum extrusions for the pop-up bed. And then I am fortunate enough to have a shear at work, so I sheared up the corner gussets. I just had those marked out. I just printed 1-to-1 paper dolls of those, and made sure they're square by measuring the corners. I used a ratchet strap to pull them into square. Did the same thing for the top part, and then used an angle finder to get my 5-degree forward lean. I probably should mention that I didn't do, number one, I didn't build a weld fixture. I think that's silly. Sorry if anybody's offended by that. I actually taught a tooling jig and fixture class on the university campus for several years, and one of the first things we did was, for each piece of tool that we designed, was do a cost-benefit analysis to see if the tool was needed. And I would challenge you to find the positive cost-benefit of building a 2x4 weld fixture for your camper. It just isn't there. Just use your squares, your magnetic squares, your angle finders, and just do it that way. Okay. Now, granted, I didn't cant my walls in like a Go Fast camper, because the Jeep Gladiator is so square anyway. I just figured I'd just go vertical on those, so that, I admit, that's makes things a little bit easier. But if you cut everything precisely, in this case 5-degree angles into these upright tubes, then you really don't need a fixture because it's self-fixturing at this point. Okay, so enough of that. So we went ahead and made sure that was going to fit the truck. You can see that lower horizontal bar there. It's just in there for temporarily to give it some structure. I later cut that out. It was just tacked, and it became the piece that screwed to the edge of the bed that slides in and out. So I reused that piece later. And then I was really worried about the corners of the frame, making sure they met up with the corners of the bed of the truck, because the Gladiator's got that pretty big radius back there. Worked out quite well, actually, the way I had it designed there. It turned out quite nicely. So I didn't make any modifications at this point. Here I am checking the height above the cab. I ended up with about 2 3/4 inches of gap between the overshot and the top of the cab. I probably could have gone about a ½ inch shorter than that. Maybe it could have been 2 2 1/4, but you have frame twist when you're off road, so it's a good idea to leave sufficient clearance there. As it is, I get a whistle starting about 45 miles an hour. But it's not an annoying whistle, so I think I'm okay. But if I was to build another one, I'd probably go a little. I'd probably, like I say, would knock about a ½ inch out of that and see if it made any difference on the whistle. 65 miles an hour. I stick my hand up here. I get a little bit of buffeting right about here. I don't feel the full force of the wind until about right there. Gladiator is such a brick, so that gives me hope that the camper won't hurt my fuel economy too bad. We'll see. Time for an update. Sorry, the lighting in here is kind of poor with that garage door open, but I needed the ventilation. So I've made one mistake, at least that I know of so far, and that is I drilled these holes too close to the end. These are the holes that go into the 80/20 extrusion that the bed frame's made out of. I knew that was going to happen when I did the CAD model, and you can see, I put these 12 inches apart, but then you see that dimension right there? It's 11 inches and a little bit more than 11. So that's like about an inch too close to the corner. There's no way a bolt in the washer is going to go in there. And unfortunately I did that on all 4 corners. So I'm going to have to weld these holes up and move them a couple inches that way. So yeah, this is upside down right now. The bed frame obviously mounts the ceiling. I've got it all tacked together except for these window studs, I guess you could call them. I'm going to probably put regular RV windows on the sides, and so I need something to mount those to. Okay, now that we have everything tacked up and we've test fit the what some people call the space frame to the truck and made sure everything is going to work, you go ahead and clean off the area around your tack welds and turn those tack welds into fillet welds. Now it's important not to try to weld vertically. You don't have to. You're not that good of a welder, and neither am I. So just go ahead and pretend like that frame is on a rotisserie, and you're just going to rotate it to all of its 6 sides and weld everything you can in plane horizontally. You don't want to be chasing weld beads against gravity, or with gravity for that matter. It's just not worth it. So go ahead and weld everything up. Okay, don't laugh at my welds, but remember that hole I was talking about? It's these bed frame holes that I got too close to that corner. If you ever need to fill a hole like that, little trick is, and this is going to sound really counterintuitive, but put a piece of aluminum backer under the hole, and you're like, well, you can't weld the aluminum. Well, that's the point. The weld won't stick to the aluminum, but it'll stick to the steel, and it'll allow your puddles somewhere to sit while it cools. Because, I guess the aluminum stays cooler. I don't know how the physics work, but anyway, little trick that. So yeah, just clamp your aluminum piece inside your tube. In this case, it works. And I'm going to weld around the outside of the hole and slowly make circles until I get to the middle, until it's full. Just like that. Basically you're making a puddle and then making smaller and smaller circles until the puddle grows to fill in the hole. So here we are marking and drilling the locations for the weld nuts that I put in the sides of the camper for accessories, and also the 2 weld nuts for the gas shocks that hold the rear door open. Be sure and put a fastener, like a stainless steel fastener, in the weld nuts so that you don't get weld goobers down inside the threads. So I have the flapper disc on here now. I'm just going through, descaling all the tubes, the whole frame, cleaning up the welds a little bit, polishing those turds. And the method I'm using is I'm rotating it through at 6 different faces, and then buffing out every horizontal surface. That's kind of the method I'm using, so I don't miss any that way. Just want to throw in here that prepping and painting the frame took about twice as long as cutting the tubing and welding it together. Yeah, it was kind of a shocker. Took about 10 to 12 hours to weld the frame, to cut and weld the frame up, and then about another 20 hours to prep the frame for painting and to actually paint it. All right, another day of the daily grind. A couple of things I wanted to show you. So I picked up this wire brush at Lowe's, and it is amazing for getting into these corners. This one just wasn't getting in there. Something else. So this is the Harbor Freight flapper disc that I used for most of it, and it was about half the price of this DeWalt that I picked up at Lowe's yesterday. But I think they're equal. The Lowe's one is starting to show quite a bit of wear already. I've only done maybe the last couple of passes, so you're probably just as well with the Harbor Freight one in that case. And I even questioned the economics of a flapper disc because they are expensive. Like I said, this is about $5 or $6. This was 11 or 12. I'm wondering if just a wire brush isn't more cost effective. But yeah, just want to get it all down to the bare shiny metal. The next step will be to clean it with use mineral spirits, something that doesn't leave a residue. And then we're going to prime it and paint it. Oh, yeah, my welds, a lot of them look terrible. Some of them look great. Some of them turned out awesome. But I tell you what, even just... So this, you might remember, this was in here temporarily. It's going to be the bed support eventually. That was just tacked in lightly so I could cut it out. And I cut the tacks, and I put a wrench on here to twist it out, and it tore the walls of, I can't remember what it was. It might have been there. Anyway, it tore out the wall of the tube it was welded to. And so even just a little tack is pretty strong. So if your welds look terrible like mine, don't get too discouraged. They'll hold. The most important thing, I think, is to get everything sealed up. So check for pinholes. I don't think you don't want moisture getting inside of your tubing because it will rust and fail. So that's the most important thing. Just seal up your weld joints. Now that we're finally down to the bare metal and we've
wiped it down with mineral spirits. We're going to just take a clean shop towel and make sure there isn't any residue on there, and then we'll be ready to prime and paint the frame finally. Okay, so we got these bed rails mounted with countersunk rivets. The bed will sit out here and slide back to give you more room. And then I've gone ahead and applied a bead of caulk down the seam here. I'm going to rivet these guys onto here. They're going to provide something for the overshot skin to attach to. And I just didn't want any moisture kind of getting up and under there into the inside of the camper, so I put down a bead of caulk first. Before I drill those holes for the rivets, I'll show you guys this Craftsman drill that my kids got me for Christmas just like 5 months ago. Did you see that play in the chuck? Guess we're going to find out how good their warranty is. These are countersunk rivets, so I'm going to put a slight chamfer. The big brown truck of happiness came and brought the upper part of the bed frame, in other words the roof. I ended up ordering the roof, the hinges, the handle, and all these brackets from T-Nuts, because they were much less expensive. What I didn't get was the sliding nuts that go in the channel from them, because as you can see there are black oxide maybe, and I don't trust that. I want to go nickel cadmium. And only 8020 has the nickel cadmium. Unfortunately, they cost about 4 times as much. And unfortunately, I just found out yesterday that 8020 doesn't ship its stuff till about 3 weeks after you order it, because they don't have their parts pre-anodized. They're raw. I didn't see that in the fine print, or maybe it's not in the fine print. So my goal of getting this done by the end of May just went down the tubes, because I'm not even going to get the bed frame till like first week of June. And there's a little issue of learning how to sew and sewing the tent too. So yeah, so I'm going to be about a month behind on this project. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Maybe order your 8020 stuff first. Okay, I think we are done with the frame, unless I made any major mistakes to it that I'll find out later. We've got it all painted, got bed sliders installed, we've got the overshot skin backer installed. The only reason why that's in 2 pieces, by the way, is because I didn't want to pay for 1 big long piece, and 2 shorter pieces were cheaper. So yeah, that took way longer than I expected. Probably guessing in the neighborhood of 30 hours. I guessed it might take half that long. The grinding, sanding, paint work, or sorry, prep work for paint, it always way longer than you think it's gonna take. So there we have it, the frame. I think that's the end of this video. Next video, we'll move on to the extrusions.
You give. Good boy.